Hello, hello. What's up, guys? This is a very exciting day for the channel. The first time ever we're filming on a location. We are in Trafalgar Square and we're at a protest rally to abolish the monarchy.
Not my king! Not my king! Not my king!
So I'm gonna be showing some scenes of the speeches and just seeing what the vibe's about. I got there a bit early and they were still setting it up.
This is very high for me. I feel like I'm really raising my head. Good afternoon. I don't believe you. We're here to really do something this afternoon, and I need more energy from you. But before you give me that, maybe you just think I'm a random stranger, which I am. But I think that we are all here for the same cause, which makes us friends automatically. My name is Kelechi Okafor, and today I will be your mic compare, basically known as an MC, selector, all of those things there. And what are we here to talk about? We are here to talk about and celebrate Republic Day. For those of you who are here and you know what that's about, it's really us considering abolishing the monarchy, and not just considering it, but moving forward confidently that we are able to govern ourselves. We can elect our head of state, and for many reasons, we have reached a time where that is necessary. So just to check that your vocal cords are up and running, I just wanted to check. Some of you are wearing stickers already. Can you just help me say, not my king?
Not my king!
Oh, you're being a bit shy. We still got that British sensibility. Let's try again. Not my king! Well done, I love that.
If you watched to the end, I got to meet Kelechi Okafor in person and asked her an awkward question. So make sure you watch till the end.
The monarchy is not what you think it is. It is a corrupt, disreputable and grubby institution, and we are going to get rid of it. There's a new poll out today showing that the popularity of the monarchy has gone down again. Popularity of William and Kate is going down, and the support for abolition of the monarchy has jumped again. It's up around 35%, and it will carry on going up. And the BBC does its best to portray us as a country of royalists, which we are not. 2 years ago, the coronation was here, just along this road here, down the palace and in the Westminster Cathedral. And support for the coronation, enthusiasm for the coronation was very, very low. Only 9% were excited by the coronation. The crowds for the coronation were much lower. And of course, there were a few thousand people here on the square and in the surrounding area protesting against the coronation, as well as those of us who were not protesting, because of course we were in a police station down the road. More of that later. We are not going to give up. This is 2 years that we've been protesting at every major royal event, and we will carry on doing so. Next month, on the 14th of June, we have a protest at Troop in the Colour, the second year that we've done that. So come along on 14th of June, just down the road on the Mall, and we will protest when they come out on the balcony. And they will hear us shouting, not my king! And they will hear us shouting, it's time to abolish the monarchy! And they will hear us shouting, down with the crown! And as those crowds get bigger, they will hear us more loudly, more clearly, until the crowds of protesters one year will be bigger than the crowds of people who were there to wave at the King and the Queen on the balcony. and we will bring down the monarchy, because we are making progress and they are losing support. And because they are, as I said, a grubby institution. They are an institution that makes excuses for Andrew, who faces numerous accusations of sexual abuse. They make excuses for Charles, who is accused of criminal activities such as receiving millions of pounds in cash from a Qatari politician and businessman. We don't know where the cash came from or what it was paid for. He has accusations of selling honours in exchange for cash, and we don't know what was the promise in return. And we have accusations of hypocrisy on the environment and accusations of abuse of public money and secrecy. They've been accused of being more secretive than CIA and MI5 for no good reason. But we are going to build that republic, a parliamentary republic where citizenship really means something, where we are genuinely equal, where we can look each other in the eye and say that we are citizens, equal in law and equal in our democratic rights. And we are going to abolish the monarchy in the next few decades. It may be a long fight, it may be a short fight, but it will happen. And it'll happen because you keep on turning out at these rallies, at these protests, turn out online, turn out when you're writing to your MP and when you're talking to the media and when you're talking to your friends and your colleagues, and constantly supporting the campaign, and we will win.
Hi everyone and welcome to Republic Day. I am really sad I couldn't be there with you today in person. I'm a long-time supporter of Republic and a long-time Republican, but I'm sure that the day is going to be absolutely brilliant. And it comes at a really important time. We are living in a world of extraordinary inequality in which billionaires are literally running the most powerful government on the planet. And I think that speaks to this wider challenge that I address in my book, Culture Capitalism, which is that capitalism has descended very clearly into oligarchy. Now, what I argue in my book is that capitalism was always an oligarchic system in which kind of talk about free markets and free trade always just concealed these fundamental imbalances of power that exist within any capitalist economy, in which a small number of very powerful people get to own all the stuff and make all the rules, and everyone else just has to obey and is subject to various forms of kind of dominance and control throughout every area of their life, from work to politics to just living and existing in a capitalist society. And I think that is very clear when it comes to the monarchy. This is, the last vestige of feudalism, really, one of the last vestiges of feudalism within our society, and it is long overdue that the monarchy is gone. Popularity of our monarchs has been falling, perhaps unsurprisingly given all of the scandals that they have been involved in. But because there's no real accountability, it's been very difficult for people to kind of speak up and make their preferences known and say, actually, we don't want to live in a monarchical society anymore. But what I also think is really important is that whilst we live in these systems of kind of centralized power and control, one of the most kind of significant ways that those at the top convince us that we don't have any power is to say that the system just works. It is the way it is, and there's nothing that you can do about it. And in any case, you're all on your own. It's your job just to compete with other people around you to try and get to the top of this system, never to collaborate with them in order to try and change it. And this is, of course, what neoliberalism was all about. It was about crushing the labor movement, crushing collective movements that aimed to transform society, and instead slice us up into these little isolated individual enterprises and households and force us all to compete with each other rather than collaborating to win real social change. So the message that I have for you today is the people that you are surrounded by right now at this event are people with whom you can and should be collaborating to try and win so many different forms of change that we want to see in our society, to try and reduce wealth inequality, to try and tame the power of those at the top, and to try and deliver a genuinely democratic society and a democratic economy as well. So thank you all so much for coming today, and I want to leave you with a message of hope, which is that a lot of us, I think, are waiting for someone or some political movement or politician to swoop in and save us and tell us, right, we're going to have socialism or real democracy now and everything's going to be fine. And I think if you look back throughout history, it's very obvious that that has never been how progressive social change has happened. It's happened by people looking around in their lives, in their communities, and saying, I've had enough of this, I'm not willing to take it anymore. And instead of waiting for someone to come and tell them what to do to fix it, they came together and they said, we demand higher wages, or we demand the vote, or we demand limitations on working time. All of these things were won through collective struggle, through people coming together and demanding a different society, because they knew that they deserved better, that they deserved a better life. And that's how things have changed. Things haven't changed by someone swooping in and coming and telling us things are going to be different tomorrow. Social change has emerged out of people's demands for a better world, out of the daily struggles that people have lived throughout decades, centuries of exploitation and oppression. And that is exactly the same today. The only way that we're going to see real progressive change is by people coming together, recognizing the ways in which they're exploited and oppressed and divided from each other by those at the top, and saying enough is enough. We are organizing, we are taking back control for real, and we are going to work together to build a true democracy. Thank you.
Everything that Grace said there is so important for us to recognize right now. Sometimes people try to derail conversations when you say, abolish the monarchy. They say, oh, so you're anti-monarchy. Again, you're sending the energy and the focus towards the monarchy. You're centering that, as opposed to, is it about me being anti-monarchy? Is it about us being anti-monarchy? Or is it about us being pro-liberation and pro-democracy and pro-ourselves? So this is a case of thinking about not necessarily choosing to keep the monarch or focusing on abolishing the monarchy, but rather than that, focusing on choosing ourselves. We deserve much better. I like to, whilst Norman Baker will be our next speaker, and Norman Baker isn't here just yet, but whilst we're waiting, I just wanted to tell you about something that really pisses me off. And I think the reason I'm using the term pisses me off, or piss me off specifically, is because we don't consider how anger is a revolutionary force for the change that we want to see in society. For some reason, we believe that we can have the change that we want by being polite about it. There's nothing polite about centuries of oppression and inequality. There's been nothing polite about that. There's nothing polite about colonialism and the blood-soaked jewels that we see in the crown constantly when these ceremonies are lauded in front of us. Huh? I thought so. Okay. I think he really loves King Charles. That's his babe. That's his babe. And so this is important to note, because what people don't want is change. And this is a perfect example of that. This person isn't getting any of the crown jewels. They're not getting anything from the system that exists. And that's why they're riding a bicycle through town looking angry. But yet they believe that the issue that they have is with people on a lateral level to them, or a horizontal level to them, as opposed to a vertical reasoning and a vertical oppression. And this is what we need to consider more of. We are not each other's enemies. We are each other's co-conspirators. The issue that we have are those who are above us, who keep taking power, who keep taking all of our resources, and they tell us that the reason we have so little is because immigrants are taking it from us, or trans people are trying to get into toilets, when really the reason that we should be looking at is the fact that a small percentage of people, but specifically one particular family in this country, take all of those resources, and that is what we should be challenging. So if we think that anger is not necessary for the work that we want to do, we are very, very mistaken. It is time for us to get angry, but to be constructive with the anger that we feel. Us gathering here today, we gathered here because of anger. We gathered here because the anger at seeing how other people are treated makes us want change. But anger is not devoid of love. In fact, because I love liberation and I love democracy so much, I get angry at the fact that we have so little of it in this country, but we are pretending that we do. We have not, as a nation, yet stepped into the 21st century because we keep holding on to archaic, draconian relics that will not serve us in the name of keeping tradition. Is tradition more important than your freedom? These are the questions that we need to be asking ourselves as we move forward in this life. What I wanted to say was, if you look around this area, you'll find that there are people who I would assume are houseless. They're experiencing homelessness. And I think that we need to ask ourselves why these people are criminalized for not being able to have homes when we have royal members, or we have members of the royal family who have so many places of residence. Even those instances should make us think that there's something unfair about the system that we exist in, where people are vilified and criminalized for the fact that the system is putting them in the very same positions that they should be in the first place. So I saw recently that, I think it was Prince William, he was doing some kind of initiative with a charity working towards eradicating homelessness. And whilst I think the initiative in and of itself, yes, that's great, but can we consider the fact that with the wealth that the royal family has, they can actually eradicate homelessness in this country? So actually it's just the performance of benevolence. We are living in what some might call a fever dream, and it's about time that we wake up. But without much further ado, I will now introduce you to Norman Baker. Norman Baker is the author of And What Do You Do? What the Royal Family Don't Want You to Know. He is presently writing a follow-up book on the royals for publication in the autumn of 2025. He was the Lib Dem MP for Lewis between 1997 and 2015, during which time he was the only MP to initiate a debate on royal finances.
Right, hello, I'm not sure about the music, but anyway, good afternoon to you all. Thank you very much for coming on this sunny day. And it's a good day for us to be here to make our voices heard. It's also, can I tell you, a happy day for the King. Why is it a happy day for the King? Because he will receive from the public purse £359,178.08 today. That's every day's a happy day for the King, because that's what he comes his way every day from you and me. £359,000. The civil list which provided money for the royals lasted from 1760 to 2011, when after heavy lobbying from the then Prince Charles and the palace, it was replaced by the sovereign grant we have now. This links funding for the royals to the performance of the Crown Estate. Sounds royal, doesn't it? But actually the Crown Estate was transferred to the public in 1760, and there is as much logic in linking money for the royals to that as linking it to the profits of Tesco's. But then the Crown Estate is a huge successful property company, so is bound to deliver for the royals inflation-busting rises every year. This change was disastrously agreed by the then Chancellor George Osborne in 2011. The consequence of that is this: the last year of the civil list in 2011 gave the royals £7.9 million for that year. This year, 14 years on, the sovereign grant is £131.1 million, and the increase this year alone for money for the royals is 53%. Who else has got 53% increase in their salary this year? We've seen winter fuel payments cut for pensioners. We've seen support cut for the disabled. We've seen big increases in council tax bills. And all while the government pours more and more money into the bloated coffers of the royals. The Crown Estate owns a seabed where wind farms are springing up everywhere. And now, For no reason, 12% of the profits are going straight to Charles, where before 2011 they would have gone to the Treasury. Why should the King get this massive windfall from wind farms? He's done nothing to create this income, but he's very happy to top slice it. Now, there's an unpleasant truth about our royal family here in the UK. They're greedy, they're arrogant, and they ooze self-entitlement. They are the last imperial monarchy in Europe, with a mindset that hasn't moved with the times. The recent coronation cost us an estimated £72 million, according to the government. According to Republic, it was £250 million. But why have one at all? No other European monarchy has bothered with a coronation over the last 100 years. The last coronation in Spain was in 1474. Does anyone think that Charles was not king between the death of the Queen and the coronation many months later? This was simply a vanity project for the monarchy. Charles said he didn't want a cut-price coronation. Well, he wasn't paying, was he? We were. You know, one of the worst arguments I've heard for the continuation of the monarchy is that it's good for tourism. Apart from the nonsensical idea we should base our constitutional arrangements on the tourist trade, I observe that the royal palace with the most visitors is Versailles, and the French abolished their monarchy in 1848. In fact, you can get more tourists into Buckingham Palace if the royals were not there. We are still subjects in this country, a concept every other European monarchy has dispensed with over 100 years ago. MPs, when they're elected, even if they're elected on a Republican ticket, have to take an oath of allegiance, not just to the unelected monarch, but to their heirs and successors as well. And in the top 10 of the line of succession, you will find, for example, Prince Andrew, Prince of Slees. In other monarchies, the monarchs take an oath to democracy. Here it's the other way around. The distasteful truth is that the first priority of the royals is to enrich themselves, with complete disregard for the consequences for the public purse. Service to the nation comes second. How is it that a family that was effectively bankrupt in 1760 is now drowning in cash? The Guardian estimates that Charles is worth 1.8 billion. No senior royal has less than 20 million or so to their name. How has this happened? First, for centuries, they have pleaded poverty to the government of the day, while refusing to tell MPs how much private wealth they have. Albert and Victoria, for example, pleaded they need more money to discharge her duties when she was Queen. When Parliament coughed up the money, they used the money instead to buy Balmoral and Sandringham. I recognise that behaviour from my time in Parliament. It's called filling your expenses. As well as the huge handouts, there are the tax breaks only they benefit from. Why was no inheritance tax collected on her private bequest to Charles when the Queen died? No inheritance tax on the £100 million stamp collection, on the string of racehorses, on the estimated £1 billion worth of jewellery, on the valuable artworks, or possibly on the finest wine cellar in the country. Everybody else would pay inheritance tax. Why didn't Charles have to pay it out of the inheritance he got from the Queen? Now, the Daily Mail, that organ of republicanism, the Daily Mail calculated the exemption from dividend income tax alone, just that one thing, probably saved the Queen, Elizabeth II, around 1.1 billion in her lifetime. That's just one thing, just one tax exemption, over £1 billion windfall for the Queen, £1 billion less for the Treasury to spend on hospitals and schools and our defence. Then there's a Royal Slush Fund, that's the Duchy of Cornwall, which Charles argues is a private estate, and I argue belongs to us, the public. But if it's private, as he says, why, unlike any genuine private estate, does he pay no corporation tax on that? Then there's a gold plating upgrade of Buckingham Palace that's going on now. It used to be the case until 1952, until Queen came to the throne, that the royals themselves paid for the upkeep of Buckingham Palace, but no more. We are spending an eye-watering 359 million on this gold-plated upgrade. But here's the rub. Here's the rub. The income from the tourists visiting the palace is apparently private money and kept by the king. 10 minutes only allows me to scrape the surface of the greed at the heart of our royal family. You can find much more in the book that was kindly referred to at the beginning of my talk here today, and in the follow-up due out in September. But listen, you don't have to be a Republican to find unacceptable the huge handouts, the unique tax exemptions, and all the tricks and wheezes they use to inflate further their bulging bank accounts at our public expense. It's time for all of us, Republicans and supporters of the monarchy, to say enough is enough and call time on this greedy family.
Hello, hi. Do tell us why you're here today and what this means to you.
I'm here today because I believe in the civilized principles of democracy, meritocracy, equality and accountability. And the monarchy is the antithesis of those civilized principles. It must go. As Norman has said, the money that we are giving to this one privileged, entitled family. And by the way, and I don't know if this will be covered today, they have a rotten history of mass murder, not this current family but their ancestors. Mass murder and theft and slavery. 8 monarchs helped run and profited from the slave trade. And yet we're meant to celebrate this institution, this rotten, self-serving institution. It's time for a change, it's time for democracy.
This lady here. Okay. Hello. You were nominated. This is the Republic factor. Why are you here today and what does this mean to you?
Because I can never be a British citizen as long as we've got a monarchy. I'm an EU citizen who is now here after Brexit on duration, on sufferance of the system. I will not become a British citizen as long as I have to swear a loyalty oath to a corrupt monarch. Furthermore, it's a feudal system. There cannot be any democracy worth its name unless you get rid of the institution altogether. I don't care who is in position at the time, what they do in their private lives, but the system needs to go. Otherwise, you've got no claim to pretend to be a democracy here.
Thank you so much. And who else amongst you has something to say today? Don't be shy. You're wearing yellow. You are not shy. I'll start here and I'll come to you. And why are you here today?
I'm here to support the Republic because we live in a society that is both rotten to the core and rotten from the top down. And the only way that we are going to change that is to introduce proportionality in our voting system, get rid of him and have an elected head of state.
Thank you. I totally agree. Who agrees that we should get rid of first past the post? Thank you. Thank you. Who agrees that we should do away with a two-party system? Who agrees that we should abolish the monarchy? Thank you so much. I'm amongst friends. Thank you. Hello, why are you here today?
It's time we became a grown-up society. At the moment, we are still the subjects of someone. We're being treated like somebody's children, and we've got a system that is actually top-down, where people are in privilege and other people aren't. It's time that was abolished completely, and we all became equal.
Thank you so much. Thank you. The infantilization of the British public needs to stop, and for that to stop, we need to abolish the monarchy. Like I said, you're wearing yellow, you're out in the sun, so I know that you've got things to say, so there's no need to pretend. Who else would like to share why they're here? Hello.
Just quickly, monarchy has always been about wealth, power and control. Continue.
Thank you. Wealth, power and control, and it needs to change. Equality for all. Thank you. I'm going to come over here. This flag. Hello. Why are you here today?
Hello. I think I need to show support because it's something that we need to get on the agenda. any discussions, challenges, protests are generally not built. So the more people get out, I'm sure the more liable it is actively on the agenda. And when it does, people will start to question what the hell's going on.
Thank you, and that's so important. People will finally start to question what the hell is going on. Have we taken a moment to consider that this is insanity? Why should we be subjects and not citizens? I'm coming to the lady in the yellow dress. Hi, why are you here?
Are you standing in the way to get in?
Thank you so much, and that's a fantastic point. Everything else seems to be up for debate on mainstream media except for the monarchy. We can debate whether Britain is still racist. We can debate whether trans women are women. They are. We can debate all of these things, but for some reason we can't debate whether the monarchy is a legitimate entity that should continue to exist. Maybe it's time that we have that debate. Thank you so much, that's amazing. Hello. Could you tell us why you're here and what this means to you?
I think it's just sort of unfair that people want to get there with so much power and money when they're just another family.
How old are you?
13.
Whoa! There we go. Thank you so much. And this is really important that you are joining us at the age of 13 and even you see that this makes no sense. So when we're told these lies that young people actually support the monarchy, no they don't. No they don't. I think they'd rather see the money go elsewhere. Would you agree? And what would you, at this age right now, what would you like to see the money that we pump into the monarchy, where would you like to see it go?
I think definitely into schools, because I know my school has definitely problems with money and there's just not enough money for students to get what they need.
Thank you so much, that's amazing. Thank you. Thank you, would you like to speak?
I'm just concerned that they have a lead role in the Church of England. Christian or not, the Bible says, give up all and follow me. I don't see them giving up anything.
Thank you. They're not giving up anything, but they are taking a lot. And when we talk about the separation of church and state and all of these things, it doesn't seem like it's very separate. Thank you. And another thing to consider, we've seen that there have been tragically historic cases of child sex abuse within the church as a whole, but specifically the Church of England, and we haven't really seen the monarch make any mention of this or address this at all. Anybody that wants to hold such a position should also be accountable to the people, especially when people have been harmed by the constructs that they are to be the said head of. So that's just another thing. I'm coming over to this side. I don't want to seem like I'm not sharing the mic. Spoken.
From the gypsy community, and the 12 horses I'm going to make is of a gypsy horse, a gypsy cob. And I applied for planning permission to put it in the town of Appleby, which is home to the biggest gypsy horse fair in Britain. Now, the local council said that they wouldn't give it planning permission because it might lead to antisocial behaviour. Now, I've never known a horse ever lead to antisocial behaviour. But what it says about our country, the fact that people objected to it, says everything about our country. When people objected to it, they said, a horse, a gypsy horse, we can't have a gypsy horse there. We want to have something neutral, like the Queen. Now, I would argue that there is nothing neutral about the Queen, nothing at all. So what I want us to do is I want us to reimagine what our world would be like if we lived in a republic. Because the symbols that we have around us say everything about the country that we live in. If you just take King George as an example up there, and by that I mean every King George. I'm not sure if it's the syphilitic King George or the King George that the Americans threw out when they declared their republic, but he's up there, and so it's only fitting that there should be a sculpture up there on the fourth plinth of trans faces. And that's what I want us to imagine of a world that we live in, because we live in a collective Stockholm syndrome where we are in love with our captors, and our captors are the elite, they are the white supremacists, and at the very, very top are the Saxe-Coburg Gothers, the Windsors that run and rule our country. And if we think about the symbols that surround us, it wasn't until very recently that if you wanted to send a letter, you had to literally lick the Queen's arse and stick a stamp on a letter. The Queen or the King is on all of our banknotes. From the very moment we're born, we are raised to be monarchists. We are brainwashed into thinking that it's an okay state of affairs. Now, we're also in a very dangerous time where you have reform being elected to power in different places, and they've said that for wherever they're in power, they're going to only have the Union Jack and the St. George's flag. We are entering peak flag shagging season. And there's nothing wrong with flags. I haven't got a problem with the Union Jack or the St. George's flag. Everybody should be entitled to fly their flag. But we're living in a time where, whether it's Trump in America or reform over here, they would have you be more frightened of diversity than dictatorship. One of the words they all use is subjects. All the time we accept being subjects, we are being subjected to a horrible symbol of inequality. It's a symbol of inequality that somebody should have the divine right to rule. If you live in a society which is based upon the equality of people, everybody should have the right through their own abilities to reach whatever station that they want. So we've been brainwashed by the firm. We need to all fly our colours, no matter what they are. So my last word is I want to show you the gypsy flag, which you won't see in many places. And from now on, it will be banned from anywhere that reform is in power. I'd like us to imagine a world where Buckingham Palace, the Windsors are evicted and the homeless are given entry. I'd like to imagine a world where the Romany flag and the trans flag and the pride flag flies above Buckingham Palace alongside the Union Jack. And let me tell you a little bit about this flag, because I want you to know and I want you to see it and I want you to fly it wherever you can. The Romany flag, it has the sky, which represents what we all live under. It represents the green of the earth that we all live on. And it represents the red flag because we're all travellers. One other thing I'd like you to imagine, and that happened a couple of years ago. Some cousins of mine, when they were in the area of Windsor Castle, they took their caravans and they parked on the long walk down to the Thames. And the Daily Mail was outraged and the Sun was outraged. I'm looking forward to a time where gypsy and traveller people can take back the royal parks and have it as a camping ground along with everybody else, because this is our land, it is not their land. Thank you very much.
Tired, so we really don't have time to dream. We do not have time to sleep because we're overworked. So if we can't sleep, we can't dream. If we can't dream, we can't reimagine a better world for ourselves. Some of the reasons that people are saying that they want to keep the monarchy and, you know, they want to have the royal family there is because they can't imagine anything different. Just like Jake said, from very, very young, we are indoctrinated and we are socialized in this country to be monarchists, and it takes all of our will and our power for us to imagine something different. The young lady that spoke to me earlier, the 13-year-old that said we should put money into education systems as opposed to the royal family, she isn't wrong. We need to reconfigure, we need to rethink and reimagine the education system. Why doesn't it tell us specifically just how parasitical the royal family actually is? We're only going to have that if we abolish the monarchy and we rethink our systems. If we can educate ourselves, then we can have young people who are coming up through the system, a new type of system, who understand themselves, who are self-actualized and understand that liberation is their birthright. So I'll now introduce to the stage Floris Muller, who is chair of Republic, which is the Dutch Republican campaign. So it's great to have that solidarity here today. Wives, please join me. Woo! Thank you so much, Kelechi, for a beautiful introduction. Grateful to be here and grateful to bring some message music to you. I'm just going to sing because I do that best.
It should long ago have been eradicated.
Does the monarchy hold anything for you in terms of your identity at all? Is it something you've ever really thought about?
I think my desire to see it abolished has become a part of my identity.
Okay. Hello everyone. Welcome to Republic Day. Thank you so much for being here.
People get their content online now, and so YouTube is a really good platform for essentially creating our own media. And the great thing about the podcast is done in a professional studio, it's professionally edited, it looks really good, and got a great co-host who we advertised for and recruited.
We have a lot of fun.
We have a lot of fun, and yeah, and it is supposed to be fun as well, because this is a positive, optimistic, and exciting campaign, and also having fun at the expense of the royals is always a lot of fun. But there was also a serious message there as well. So, but yeah, YouTube is obviously a place where loads of people get a huge following, and where there's you can go on there and comment and join the debate.
Also, a very interesting thing about YouTube is that, unfortunately, it's a place where there's a lot of right-wing conversation. And the more right-wing conversation there is, and the more people subscribe to right-wing news channels, the more the algorithm will tilt people, particularly young men, down those rabbit holes into right-wing propaganda and conspiracy theory.
Well, hello Republicans! Okay, I'll put the microphone down a little further. I want to tell you first of all that we're here in Trafalgar Square, but up in Edinburgh today, there is also a Republican rally where two Green members of the Scottish Parliament, Patrick Harvey and Maggie Chapman, are also speaking. So I reckon we can all say really loudly, "Hello Edinburgh! Hello Edinburgh!" You can do louder than that, come on now. Hello Edinburgh! Well done. If you're standing there wondering, yes, my accent comes from Australia. Well done, you knew it. Well judged, that man over there with the flag. And one of the things that I can bring you from knowing about what happens in Australia is you may know that Australia had a referendum on becoming a republic in 1999. And they lost that referendum. And the reason they lost that referendum is that they didn't have an answer for what comes next. Now, Republic as an organisation is very focused on what's going away, but I and the Green Party are also focused on what comes next, because unless you have that answer, then you are not going to win a referendum, you're not going to get to where you want to go, which is a society in which everybody is equal. So I'm going to come back to that, but to start off with, why do we need to get rid of the monarchy? Well, one of them is that point about equality and about financial equality. Some of you probably know that the monarchy doesn't have to pay stamp duty like everybody else, like every other corporation. The Duchy of Lancaster, the Duchy of Cornwall, when they sell something, they do not pay stamp duty.
Now, I'm really pleased that in the Scottish Parliament up in Holyrood, the Greens actually have put down an amendment to a law to say the royals must pay stamp duty. But of course, it's more than that. It's worth thinking about just how much wealth of this society is being held in such a few hands. Now, royalty is far from the only issue here. We have a huge problem with inequality right across our society, and that has to be tackled. And that's why I and the Green Party champion a universal basic income for everybody. That, you know, royals never have to worry about putting food on the table, keeping a roof over their head. No one should have to worry about keeping a roof over their head, putting food on the table. We should not rest until the last food bank closes because of lack of demand. But you know, let's look at those two, the Duchy of Cornwall and Lancaster. 180,000 acres, 5,400 land holdings. And you know what? The NHS is paying £11 million over 15 years to park their ambulances on royal land. Dartmoor Prison is paying £1.5 million. We know how incredibly overstretched, underfunded our prison service is. They're paying £1.5 million to the royals just to have a prison built on Dartmoor. That's exactly, shame's the right word. Now, I spoke about the stamp duty, but those duchies of Lancaster and Cornwall also don't pay corporation tax. They don't have to comply with a compulsory purchase order. So let's see a town or a village wants some land for some really good public purpose. They cannot say, as they could to any other landowner, we are going to compulsorily purchase that land. That is a continuation of feudalism. And I think we can do some movement here. Let's do a little chant, end feudalism now. End feudalism now. End feudalism now. End feudalism now. Well done. Okay. And of course, the other side of this is the people, the other side, the opposite to the royals, are the people who've got nothing. Now here in London, 1 in 29 children in the whole of London is living in temporary accommodation. Utterly inadequate housing. Across the country, there's 151,000 children living in temporary accommodation, often B&Bs with no cooking facilities. I'm part of an all-party parliamentary group that had to fight to make sure that every child, small child in temporary accommodation, if they need it, has a cot, a proper place to sleep. And then think of what else is just down the road from here. Buckingham Palace, just down the road. Now I looked this up and it seems a bit unclear. The internet doesn't quite agree, but there's either 52 or 78 royal and guest bedrooms in Buckingham Palace. And there's 188 staff bedrooms there in Buckingham Palace. Let's contrast that. The children sleeping in a B&B without a cot and what's happening just down the road. Now I think we can all agree that is absolutely not right. And then of course there's the archaisms. The fact that the monarch has to be a Protestant Christian under the Act of Settlement of 1701. Is it any wonder we've still got feudalism when the Act of Settlement of 1701 still applies? And you know what? That excludes so many people from ever being the monarch or the monarch marrying so many people. What a strange, weird situation that is. And let's come to some more of this archaic history. There's a Royal Marriages of Act of 1772. You mightn't be right up on this, I confess I had to look it up. All the descendants of King George II have to get the monarch's permission to marry. But don't worry, in 2013 there was a new law. So now it's only the top 6 people in line to the throne who have to get the monarch's permission to marry. So, you know, I bet you didn't think of coming here today and hearing this, but what we need is human rights for royals. They should have the same rights as everybody else. And you know what, that was a phrase I used back when I was Green Party leader in 2012, when one of the princes, I've forgotten which one, was born. I said that what I hoped, what my wish was as Green Party leader, was that by the time this child turned 18, he should have the same right to do whatever he wanted with his life as everybody else born that day. And of course the other side of that is everyone else born that day should also have the possibility of becoming our head of state. Now, I'm sure you've heard today, you'll often hear people saying, oh, but we've got a constitutional monarchy, they don't do politics, they only do the ceremonial stuff. Well, this is obviously not true. You might have heard of the black spider memos that The Guardian exposed after a huge legal fight. And some of what's in those black spider letters, what we found was Prince Charles, when he was still a prince, was bombarding government departments with letters about what he thought about how the country was being governed, what he thought about how the country was operating. But it's all right, don't worry, you don't have to worry. He was only writing in his capacity as a private citizen. So we can all be certain that those letters were only getting exactly the same amount of attention as if you were to write a handwritten letter to a government department and expect it to respond to it. But what was in those letters? Well, there was a letter to Lord Irvine, the Lord Chancellor. Prince Charles, as he was then, was complaining about the Human Rights Act, was critical, and I quote, of the degree to which our lives are ruled by politically incorrect interference. So the king, as he is now, was complaining about Parliament creating rules for all of our society. And I don't think that's acceptable. Do you agree with that? That's not acceptable. And those black spider memos, there was a letter in 2002 when there was something that happened just down the road from here. Some of you, the older people, may remember the Countryside Alliance March. It happened in 2002. Yes, I'll agree with that. Oh, okay, there's a band shooting Stop Killing in the Countryside t-shirt over there, well done. Which of course the Royals are very closely linked to. But one of the black spider memos on that day said, reflecting on the views from a farmer in Cumbria about the treatment of rural workers, and this is what the now king is saying: if we were black or gay, we would not be so victimised. That is deeply disturbing. But you know, human rights are not really what the royals go into. Declassified UK, and if you don't follow them on social media, we were just hearing about social media, definitely think about following them. They have uncovered, since the Arab Spring in 2011, the royal family, the king, have had 120 meetings with royal families from the Middle East. These are families that oversee awful, repressive regimes. They include the Saudi Arabian royal family, which is one of the world's most abusive, human rights abusive regimes. And our royals are cuddling up to their royals. And I don't think that's right, and we shouldn't be doing that. The king had a photo of himself taken with the Sheikh of Dubai. Now, the late Queen, after various things I'll get to in a second came out, said she was not going to have her photo taken with the Sheikh of Dubai. But the Sheikh of Dubai, a British court ruled that he had abducted and detained 2 of his daughters. Utterly illegal, with no legal basis whatsoever. Utterly misogynistic against his own daughters. And King Charles had his photo taken with the Sheikh of Dubai. And I think you're all going to agree with me, that's absolutely not right. Okay, I have a feeling I'm probably going to have someone grabbing me by the scruff of the neck and dragging me off stage soon. So I'm going to get to my final point, which is, I started by saying, from the perspective of the Australian referendum, what we need to do is say, what do we have instead? And the fact is, it's not just the monarchy. We actually have bigger problems than the monarchy. We have a society that is not a democracy. The UK is not a democracy, and not just because of the monarchy. The UK, we have a first past the post electoral system that means that we have a government, Sir Keir Starmer down the road, got the backing of 34% of the people who voted and now has 100% of the power. That's 20% of eligible voters gave us this government. So what do we do? What do we do to tackle all of these problems? And yes, I will say also, as a member of the House of Lords, the unelected House of Lords is also a huge problem. Thank you. Go on, that deserves a louder cheer. So what we need is a modern, functional, democratic constitution. That means no monarchy, no unelected House of Lords, and a parliament that reflects the views of the people. So how do we get that? Well, my answer to this is, let's have the absolute reverse of monarchy. Instead of having one family there at the top of the tree, let's have a people's constitutional convention, a people's assembly. People representative from all around the country, by age, by gender, by background, by education, a representative group of people, and say, how do we want, in 21st century Britain, a modern, democratic, functional constitution? And you know what? I will absolutely guarantee you that that People's Constitutional Convention will not say we want a monarchy. They will say we want a modern, functional, democratic constitution, and that's what we all want. So I've got one final thing to say to you, something that I say to all the audiences I speak to. We have a world where the monarchy absolutely is political, where we have a few people doing politics. We have a few people doing politics. What we need is a world where everyone makes politics what they do, not have done to them. That has to be the foundation of our democracy. And when I go and talk to 10-year-olds, I say, make politics what you do, not have done to you. Let's all do politics. Let's all have an equal say in those politics. And let's say, end feudalism now!
Next up, we have the actor and TEDx talk celebrity, Jassa Aluwalia, to talk to us about how language means things, how identities are formed through language, and overall to inspire us further. So I'm going to welcome Jassa to the stage, please.
Are you proud to be Republicans? Listen, the case against the monarchy is varied. But what grates with me at a time when we have a cost of living crisis is the immense personal wealth that the royal family has amassed. And they still expect us, the taxpayers, to pay the civil list. Let's look at it. The royal family has between them 23 palaces and other luxury residences. 23. They have 700 servants to wait hand and foot upon them. And they have a personal private wealth of over £2 billion. Some of it accrued as a result of war, conquest, and colonization. That is stolen money, stolen from people in this country and around the world. Just look at the crown jewels. There you see theft on a gargantuan scale of diamonds, rubies, and emeralds stolen from countries that were colonized and exploited by Britain. Those crown jewels are a symbol of exploitation and tyranny. Shame on the crown jewels. Despite their immense wealth, we are not allowed to know what income tax the royals pay. After many years, it was acknowledged or admitted or conceded that they will pay income tax. But we're not allowed to know the rate of income tax or the amount they pay. They're the only people in this country who are allowed to keep their income tax secret. And that is symbolic of the lack of transparency of the royal family. In addition, the royals do not pay inheritance tax. All of us, no matter who we are, have to pay inheritance tax, but not the royals. When King Charles inherited a gigantic fortune from his late mother, Queen Elizabeth, he did not pay a penny in income tax. Not a penny on an estimated £1.8 billion worth of value that he inherited from his mother. On top of that, the royals are uniquely exempt from the laws on employment, housing, and the environment. And again, so much of their exemption is hidden, unknown. But we do know that royal staff are very poorly paid. They are not bound by equal opportunities laws. They don't have proper legal redress if things go wrong. The royals behave like feudal kings, treating their servants, as feudal servants, as indentured labor. Not quite indentured labor, but you get the picture. A picture of subservience, a lack of rights. Overall, I'd say the royals symbolize what is wrong with contemporary Britain. The monarchy is symbolic of elitism, privilege, snobbery, and deference. The assumption is that they are superior to us and we must defer to them. That's straight out of the feudal playbook, not compatible with a modern, democratic, egalitarian society. As we all know, the monarch takes, not given, but takes the role of head of state of Britain. Unaccountable, unelected, it is the role of head of state to fall to the monarch. That's the highest public office in the land. Head of state is the highest public office in Britain, and that is vested in the monarch. It's an inherited position that goes to the firstborn in the royal family, and it means that, firstly, even the most stupid, immoral, and ignorant royal is more entitled to be our head of state than the wisest, most intelligent, most moral commoner. That's an insult to the British people, that we, no matter what we achieve, no matter how high we rise in terms of moral and ethical values, we are unfit to be monarch. And as a result, we ended up with King Edward VIII, a playboy and Nazi sympathizer. That's what you get when your head of state is inherited by birth in the Windsor family. On top of that, the monarchical position of head of state is racist by default.
Yeah.
It's not intentional, I agree. But because our head of state is vested in the firstborn of the all-white Windsor family, it means that for the foreseeable future, no matter what, no black, Asian, or other ethnic minority Briton can ever be our head of state. We are stuck with a white head of state in a multicultural society when there are so many black and Asian Britons who could fulfill that role. But they are barred by the system that says the head of state can only be and must be the firstborn of the all-white Windsor family. The monarchy also embodies anti-Catholic discrimination, because no Catholic or a person married to a Catholic can be the monarch and head of state. That is anti-Catholic bias against the principles of the Equality Act. And even like me, if you're not religious, we must defend Catholic people, like all people, against discrimination and call out the anti-Catholicism of the monarchy. The monarch is also the supreme governor of the Church of England. And that means that it would be very difficult, if not impossible, for any Muslim, Jew, Buddhist, Sikh, or atheist to be head of state. It would also probably mean that even Methodists, Presbyterians, and Baptists could not be head of state. So there's inherent religious discrimination and sectarianism in the monarchical system. The monarchy is also out of touch, and I just want to give you one example. The Queen was on the throne for over 6 decades. Never once in those 6 decades did she ever acknowledge the existence of lesbian, gay, bisexual, or transgender people. She never visited an LGBT plus charity. She never was patron of an LGBT plus charity. Even when terrorists bombed the gay pub, the Admiral Duncan in Soho, killing gay people, she never turned up to express her condolences. The words lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender never passed her lips in more than 6 decades. And when she had to read the Queen's speech setting out gay law reform, she found a way of using words to avoid lesbian, gay, bisexual, or transgender. That wasn't accidental, that was deliberate, malicious homophobia. I just want to finish by saying that people often ask, what's the alternative? The alternative is very simple. To make the highest office in the land, head of state, subject to election and recall like every other major public office. And yes, we do not want to advocate a US-style president with executive powers. We want a low-cost, purely ceremonial president, like the presidents of Ireland and Germany, who act as a unifying force. People say, well, if we had an elected president, wouldn't someone like Tony Blair get elected? Well, I certainly hope not. But it is possible to have a different way. And in Ireland, they've had a succession of human rights defenders as their president. Mary Robinson, Mary McAleish, and now President Higgins. They're above politics. They defend and support the principles of democracy and human rights, and they have unifying mass support. So we could do the same. We could choose an eminent human rights defender, not me, a scientist, someone who's made a great contribution to our culture. So my final words are, they say, God save the king. We say, neither gods nor monarchs. We say, the people will save the people. 2, 4, 6, 8, elect our head of state. 3, 5, 7, 9, the king must resign. Power to the people!
Now, if you believe in equality, then a republic is for you. If you believe in democracy, a republic is for you. If you feel marginalised or excluded, a republic is for you. If you care about the environment, a republic is for you. If you believe in human rights, a republic is for you. Whether you are white, black, Asian, mixed heritage, a republic is for you. Whether you are lesbian, gay, bisexual, straight, trans, a republic is for you. If you are poor, disabled, sick, or elderly, a republic is for you. If you believe that a person's worth is not measured by the size of their bank account or the size of their Instagram following, then a republic is for you. Young or old, man or woman, academic or athlete, labourer or lecturer, a republic is for you. And the monarchy is a story about our past. Have you got a placard or a flag? After me! We have been protesting all around the country. We're going to carry on shouting, not my king! 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 Down with the crown! 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 Thank you everyone for coming to Republic Day 2025. We will be back in 2026.
Okay, thank you so much for speaking to me. You did a brilliant job today. Let me get a nice angle. Okay, so I just wanted to ask, like, I agree with everything you say about the royal family. I think more people should understand like how much they're actually ripping off British people, how much damage they've done historically. But what I wanted to ask you is on the subject of the republic, like that's where I have the issue, because I heard the word referendum and we should vote an elected leader, and I'm like, whoa, referendum. The last time we had a referendum in this country, it was a disaster. How Can we have faith in the idea that we're going to have a new elected leader? And why do we need an elected leader? Like, we just want them to share the wealth out and to stop making us believe that we're subservient. That's the bit I have a problem with. I wondered if you had any comment.
So, yeah, I think that your reservations are valid. The whole point is we don't know what we want to do until we get rid of this, and sometimes that's what keeps us stagnant, that well, we couldn't possibly get rid of the monarchy because what are we going to do afterwards? What comes after the monarchy? We come after the monarchy. At least let's tussle amongst each other and figure out what it is that we actually want. Referendum sounds like a scary word because we've been working with a system that wants to make, it's not really democracy the way that we see it. Everything is meant to frustrate us. Every time we are given the illusion of choice that we're going to vote, what happens? We get media, all of this propaganda coming in. It's like, oh, you don't want that. Look at this Muslim person that did this week. Look at this person that did this week.
The Russian bot.
Right? Everything. And money's put into sending out misinformation, as you said, with the bots. So how did we get a fair referendum? We didn't, because there is a war on our data and there is a war on our minds, and we don't realize this. So for us to have something that is fair, the referendum isn't what we should be scared of. It's people who can intercept it and interrupt it. That's what we should be worried about. Essentially, by saying that we don't trust the referendum, we're saying that we don't trust each other, and that's not wrong. We don't trust each other because we've been indoctrinated and socialized to not trust each other. So what do? We take it gradually and learn how to trust each other, learn how to unlearn all of the things, all of the stereotypes that we've been taught about each other, because it was only ever for one purpose, to keep us fighting horizontally, so we never fight vertically. And so I'm not worried about what's to come next. It might be chaos, yes, but at least it's chaos that we have chosen, as opposed to a reality, an insanity, a fever dream that has been chosen for us.
Lovely. Thank you so much. All right, let me give you a hug.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thanks a lot. Bye. I'll give you a shout out.
So that's the end of the video. As you can probably tell, I'm not a fan of the royal family. They make enormous amounts of money for themselves and the media by ripping us off. They keep the systems of repression and discrimination alive and well. And I think more people should know about this campaign, and I hope that the word will spread. In the meantime, I hope you enjoyed my coverage. It's the first time I've ever been to an event for my channel, and thank you for watching till the end.